Walter and I were back, took a little holiday recently, and we were back in Washington, D.C., and we drove down to Richmond, Virginia, which was a couple-hour drive, I guess, Sandy, and went to Sandy's meeting, and Sandy asked me to speak, and that was kind of fun. So I got to meet some of her group, and they're really a fun group. They were having a great time, and it was a good evening. I enjoyed that very much. And Sandy toured us all around Richmond in the middle of the night. I was thinking, Walter, go home. Don't make her drive us all over. She's worked all day. But anyway, she was very graceful and very kind, and that was much appreciated. So anyway, Sandy had Ivan Sisco. Ivan Sisco is an executive with Seno Cards. And Ivan's been traveling around with his family, his little kids, 2 and I guess 7 or something, Sandy, in a motorhome around the East Coast. And he happened to go to Richmond and do a meeting with Sandy and her group and whoever else turned up. And Sandy really got a lot out of what Ivan is doing. And this man is really committed to Seno Cards and working hard, obviously. And so, Sandy, you're a senior manager with the group, and you and Andy, your husband, work real hard in it. And I know you're very committed, and you have a specialty advertising business that's also busy for you on the side. Well, I don't know which one's on the side, but anyway, maybe you can share a little bit about your... Huh? They're all on the side. The kids and the family and everything's on the side. Anyway, maybe you can share a little bit about what you learned from Ivan that night, and then we can kind of talk about, we were talking this afternoon about how we treat our business, and we'll just carry on a little bit. And whoever's listening in can enjoy, I hope. And take it away, Sandy.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. Thanks for having me on your call. Just wanted to quickly give you a little bit about me so you kind of know where I'm coming from. Andy and I own, Andy's my husband, and we're actually both distributors within Send Out Cards, and we are both senior managers. I signed on under him to have my own part of the business. We do own a core business together. We own an ad specialty company which does promotional products. And we initially got into Send Out Cards just to thank our customers for being customers, thought it was a really neat way. Well, next thing you know, we have people asking us about it. Next thing you know, we decide to be distributors. Next thing you know, I want to be a distributor too. And at the time, I didn't want to share an account with Andy, so I did my own. And we have been in Send Out Cards for 2 years. And in that 2 years, we have signed, collectively, between the two of us, we have signed 240 distributors. And we are very committed to Send Out Cards. We probably work Send Out Cards 10 to 15 hours a week, in addition to working 40 hours a week on our regular job. In addition to that, we have 2 kids in high school and 2 kids in college, and we're involved in a lot of other things. So making the time for us is important, and managing our time is important. And there's never enough hours in the day, and we'll be the first one to tell you that it's tiring, but it is work. And if you don't quit, you will be successful. One of the things that Mary mentioned is Ivan Sisco. He's on this road tour, and he is willing to go. He's committed to do this through the support of Cody and Send Out Cards. He is traveling the United States, and he's actually from Canada. So he came down from Canada, is hitting the East Coast, is going to travel west, Midwest, then up the West Coast, and then back to Canada, and then back over east. So his commitment is between the start of his adventure was in September, and it's going all the way through April of next year. And what he's doing is he's going to, anybody who reaches out to him that is committed to having a meeting and getting people to that event, he will stop in your town and put on a presentation. And my first thought was, well, we do that weekly. We do that all the time anyway, so, why do we need this guy coming to town? We do it, and we do a pretty good job of it. And what really opened our eyes was that when he came here and we were able to get 60 distributors and guests in a room and what he does is he puts on an opportunity meeting, then he does distributor training. And I think one of the biggest draws was the fact that the distributor training, and it's not the basic training or the CT training, it is distributor training. It is MLM training. And to be honest with you, this is our first venture into multi-level marketing, network marketing. We've always been traditional corporate, business to business, and kind of shied away from MLM. So the last 2 years have been a road of personal growth and opportunity beyond what we ever thought was possible. Anyway, back to Ivan. So, we went ahead and said, okay, why don't you kind of come here? And when he did, and his opportunity meeting was incredible. He didn't, normally what we do in our opportunity meetings, and I'm not sure about you all, but we go through, we pick one of the videos or we show it, and then we show how to create a card, and, we talk about the product quite a bit, and then we show the slides of how to make money and all of that. Well, the way Ivan did it, and it was so simple, it was so comforting. He opens with a story about his travels, about who he is, about where he came from, and he spends about 5 to 6 minutes on that. And he talks about his family and how, he was a school teacher and he had loans to pay off. And he talked about being committed to network marketing, and his commitment level was he went to what he did was he found a company, and he was working and living in Connecticut at the time. The company that he found was in Maryland, which was a 5-hour drive. The 5-hour drive he drove every week for, I believe, almost a year. Every Tuesday. Took a 5-hour drive to make this meeting. That was his commitment level to what he wanted to achieve. As soon as he was able and had learned enough, then he started meetings in his own town. But I think the point he was getting across to everybody is that, the decision to do this business is that it's a decision, and then it's a commitment to yourself to be successful. So he kind of opened with that in a very soft way, because we had guests at this part of the meeting. And then he just kind of went on and talked about the life that he is living. And then he brought into the story of Cody and gave the short story of how Cody started the company and Cody's commitment and passion and all of that. Then he talked about the product and how the product, he said, this gratitude challenge, which I thought was really interesting. Some people look at the gratitude challenge as, oh, you just want me to spend $31, or, oh, I've done it 1,000,000 times, or, kind of that kind of thing. But what he did is he had his son, who is 7, take the gratitude challenge. And he shared this, and it was, again, he talked in stories, and he said, my 7-year-old son sent a card to his teacher, I like you. That was all it said, and he would do very simple things, but he was illustrating to the guests in the room that a 7-year-old could do this and the power behind it. They had phone calls and stuff like that. So, he kind of went on to talk about all of that kind of stuff, which really engaged the audience. And then he mentioned how, maybe you just want to try it out. Maybe it'll change your life if you do. If you start showing appreciation, it will change your life. And there's a way to do that, but there's also a way to make money and send out cards. And he said, you decide what you want to make, how much you want to make, and it's all based on your commitment level. And he just took the guests in the room through the first level, only ranking up to managers. That's the only compensation that he talked about. He didn't talk about big money. He didn't talk about and what if and all of this other stuff. He said, what, it depends on how much you want to commit to this, but what I want you to do now is just kind of think about it and maybe share it with somebody and, talk it over, try it, get with the person that came here. And that was it. He was done at that point. So he explained the compensation. He created a feel-good environment. He shared some stories. And then, he just said, get with the person that brought you here and see what your next steps are. But I'm telling you, if you want to do this, if you want to do what I do, then talk further about the business. And then we took like a little break. Now, this was the really good part. This was the part that we were all excited about once we heard him speak is then he went on, after we regrouped, we went back to the training. One of the things in the training that he took us through, he said, he's actually an introvert. He said, I have a really hard time approaching people about the business. And he said, in the other company I was with, I had a hard time. He said, now it's not so hard because you know what? You know what I say? He said, I'm going to give it to you. If you want to write it down, this is how I introduce the product. He says, I got something to show you. When are you free? That's all he says. Hey, I got something to show you. When are you free? And he said if he's pressed for details, he says, you know what? It's like a puzzle. I got to show it to you. We just need to get together. Is there a good time that I can meet you over the computer or over a cup of coffee? And that's it. And he says he gets people. I think sometimes, I'm not sure about you guys, but sometimes we try to make it way too difficult. We try to, come up with all these clever ways of trying to introduce the business or get people to take a look. When it can be just as simple as, hey, I got something I want you to see. Hey, do you have the time? It's almost like, and I started to think about it, and if you think about all the people that maybe we approach, and if you say, wow, I don't know, with the invention of cell phones, not too many people wear watches anymore. So if you don't have your cell phone and you're trying to figure out what time it is, you might ask 10 people, hey, do you have the time? Hey, do you have the time? Hey, do you have the time? They all might say no, no, no. And then the person that has the time takes the time to give you the time, and there you go. Well, I think if we approaching people in that same light, kind of take that personal, you're not telling me no, you just don't have the time, that kind of analogy, that's kind of what Ivan does. He just simply asks the question, hey, I've got something I want to show you. When are you free? And that's it. That's as simple as it is. And then he went on to share this stuff about, try not to be the message. Just direct people to the message. We have so many tools within Send Out Cards between the videos and the training and the napkin presentations and all of that. There's no need to reinvent anything else. The tools are right there. All we have to do is use them. And in the way he said it, it really resonated with our group because he said, direct the message. Don't be the message. So
Sandy, we heard that. We heard that at conference, and it's interesting that he is actually acting on it. I wonder how many people are actually doing what they heard, because I remember hearing that too, and taking that way. Use the tools. I think it was actually Eric that did that speech, but it makes sense, and it made sense to me there. So he's actually acting on that, and he's following that method. And that's nothing new. That's an old way, and people have got away from it. It's always worked.
I think we're trying too hard to come up with clever ways, and we don't need to. We've got a great product, and I've started to use that visual of the people that wear watches. Really, 1 out of 10 people may wear a watch now. I'm looking for the watch wearer. I'm going to ask everybody what time it is, but I'm going to look for the person wearing the watch. And take all that personal stuff out of it. And the other thing that he really hit home about is, you have to decide. You have to have a belief that you can do it. He said, if I said, hey, go get 3 distributors by the end of the week, and everybody who does, I'll have a check for $20,000 in the mail, there wouldn't be anything that would stop you. But because your belief would be so strong that I would keep my word. Well, Cody gives us the same message. It's just the 20,000 comes in 3 to 5 years as opposed to 1 week. But we still have to do the work. And the belief is, or the commitment is, make the commitment. Commit to yourself. So I started kind of thinking about that, internalizing how I could apply that to me. And what it kind of comes down to, and one of the things that Ivan touches on too, he said, he doesn't want people that are just going to go, well, I'll try to get 2 customers in the first week. I'll try to rank up in 30 days. If you kind of think of it as a job interview, are you going to tell a potential employer, well, I'm going to try to show up on time. I'm going to try to do that job you just hired me for. You wouldn't get very far in your corporate career. So I started to kind of internalize that a little bit. And I decided, and that's the key word, I decided to treat myself more as an employee of me, the employer. So if I'm employing me, what are my expectations of myself? What would they be of somebody else if I had a true employee that I was paying to get this job done, that I was actually paying for? What would be my expectations? So I started to set expectations of myself as an employee, with me being the employer. And it kind of opens your eyes a lot to what you've been doing, what you can do better, what you want to do. Because if you treat this as a true business and work it as a true business, it can become incredible. If you treat it as a hobby, all you'll do is throw money at it all the time. It'll be fun, and you'll have a good time, and you might meet some cool people, but it's a hobby if you're not committed to being an employee to yourself. So
you have to decide which way you want it.
Yeah.
You have to decide which way you want it, and then as you've done, act on what you've decided.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You've put it into effect. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
good Sandy.
You know, I just feel as if we would treat ourselves more as employees with the expectation of performing to the level. And the thing is, I think sometimes we think, oh, nobody wants to do this with me. Nobody wants. Well, we were somebody. Somebody found us. And can you imagine how many untapped resources are out there if we just took the time to ask the time? It's so simple. I got something I want to show you. I'm going to let you decide. I'm not, that hurts my head to think about all the possibilities why you may or may not commit to doing this. All I want to know is if you have the time. That's it.
You're awesome. You say it all so well and so clearly. Thank you for sharing that. Now, we've only got Sandy?
Yeah.
Sandy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We were talking real briefly this morning about our customers. We got a few minutes left. Can we talk?
Yes.
Remember we were saying about giving our customers heads up?
Oh, yes.
This time of year
now here's
especially?
another thing that, staying in touch with your customers is really critical. You think you bring on a customer and they're signed up and they're going to stay there forever because they're going to fall in love with the product and blah, 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 blah. How do you know they're using it? Do you touch base with them? Do you share a funny card with them and send an email that says, hey, I just dropped a card in your box that I know you're going to love. You'll love to send it here. One of the things that I do with my customers is this is how I close $31 accounts. I say to them, after we develop a relationship, they haven't even been on the system yet. I've shown them cards that I've created and used in my business. I've shared with them things that have happened as a result. And I say, I want to sign you up for this service. Here's what I want to do. I want you to give me your credit card information. I want to set you up because I want to grab your logo, put it in a couple of other pictures that pertain to your business, and I want it ready to go for you. So if you allow me to do that, I'll get everything set up, and then we'll schedule a training. And then they're like, you can put my logo in there? And I'm like, yeah, I can put your logo in there. And they give me their credit card number. That happened 3 times last week.
That's good and you're putting a little extra effort in. You're being their customer service person, and that's going to pay you. And we talked about that because your customers, if they're retail customers, they're 30%. They're your volume, right? So you're actually working for yourself by helping them.
Well, I am, and every card, like I have a customer who's going to send out 3,500 Christmas cards. I'm going over there Monday to make sure their database is all straight, to look at their Christmas card, to make sure that they have no white in it, that make sure everything is perfect with it. Because, the other thing that sometimes I think we forget, these are customers that the number on the back of the card is not theirs, it's mine. So truly, their art that they've created or the card that they've created is their product, but people see it as my product because my number's on the back. And if I'm doing a service to my customers, I want the very best for them and for me. So it's a win-win. When they send out 3,500 Christmas cards, that's 3,500 opportunities I have for somebody to go to my website. So will I take an hour and drive to their location and make sure everything's fine and answer every question that they have? Or will I upload their contacts form? You bet. I'm not going to cut off my, see the forest through the trees. I'm not going to say, well, that's 6 hours worth of work and I'm going to make $4 on that. No, I'm going to make $4 over and over and over again.
Yeah. You just do the work and put that out of your head. It'll happen.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Sandy. Hey, girl, that was awesome. You're so sharp. I wish you lived next door to me. Instead of across the country. But it almost is like with Skype. We talk, Sandy and I talk frequently on Skype, and actually we buddied up with another one of my distributors. She's fun to work with, and she's just got a great, great spirit, as you can tell. So, you know what? I love you. I thank you so much. I thank you so much for sharing.
Welcome. And
you have a great night.
I know you ever wants, and I'll just leave it out there. I am. If anybody ever wants to talk to me or to ask me questions, Mary's got my contact information. Feel free. I'll share everything in the world. You want my kids? You can have them too. No, I'm kidding. Well,
she's got great kids too.
I'm kidding.
Nice try, Sandy. Okay, well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you that was a terrific call.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.